Good evening. I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, April 17th, 2023 to order. First off, any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I need a mover and seconder for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Sharwa, second by Councillor Howe. Moved by Councillor Sharwa, second by Councillor Howe. Resolved that the April 17th, 2023 Committee of the Whole agenda be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Need a mover and seconder for the Grimsby Heritage Council endorsement package. Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Korstanji. Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Korstanji. Resolved that the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee Council endorsement package be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Need a mover and seconder for adoption of the previous minutes. Councillor Frake and Councillor Vardy. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Vardy. Resolved that the meeting minutes of the following committees and boards be received. Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee, April 11th, 2023. Committee of Adjustment, February 23, 2023 and March 22nd, 2023. Grimsby Public Library Board, January 11th, 2023. Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee, November 4th, 2021, January 6th, 2022, April 7th, 2022, and July 7th, 2022. All in favor? That's carried. All right, now we move to our delegation portion of the meeting. We have Kathy McGrath from Niagara West Fire and Emergency Services. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Through Mayor Jordan to Council and residents of the town of Grimsby, good evening and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kathy McGrath and I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the town of Grimsby. My responsibilities includes management of the Niagara West Emergency Management Program, which covers the municipalities of the town of Grimsby, the town of Lincoln, the township of Wainfleet, and the township of West Lincoln. I'm here this evening to bring awareness about Emergency Preparedness Week, EP Week for short, that is scheduled for May 7th to 13th of 2023. EP Week is a national awareness event that has taken place every year during the first full week of May since 1996. Publication on emergency preparedness is a legislative requirement under the Emergency Management Civil and Protection Act for municipalities, and EP Week is an opportunity for us to share important information of the potential hazards that we are that we may experience, and encourage individuals and families to take action to better prepare themselves for these emergencies. Our public education message aligns with the province of Ontario, and that includes 3 steps to make a plan, to build a kit, and to stay informed. Making a plan will help you and your family stay safe before, during, and after an emergency event, as you may be required to shelter in place or evacuate depending on the situation. So by having a plan, you will know in advance what your family or yourself should do in certain situations and be prepared. Building a kit to ensure you have everything you and your household will need to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours immediately following the event. This would include non-perishable items, flashlight, extra batteries, radios, and things like that to keep your family safe. And you may also need to consider any extra medications, and also don't forget your pets. It's also recommended to have an emergency kit for your vehicle for situations like severe weather events that may happen. Lastly, it's important to stay informed by following local social media channels as well as your local TV and radio stations. And this is where you'll receive your up-to-date information on what is happening with the event and what you need to do to keep yourself safe. And therefore, it's important to consider that battery-operated radio for your kits so that you can have that in the event of power outages. So this year, emergency management programs across Niagara, which includes all 12 municipalities and the region of Niagara, have partnered together to develop an emergency preparedness video. We're pretty excited about this. The video will showcase 3 different types of hazards that can occur in this area and provide information on steps to prepare and respond if they occur to you. So we're very thankful to our sponsors. We have sponsorship from Canadian Tire stores in the Niagara region. There's 8 of those. We also have Enbridge Gas and the Freshco stores in Niagara. There are 4 Freshco stores across Niagara. The Niagara Regional Fire Chiefs Association, as well as Niagara Region Emergency Management. I'm pleased to announce that the video will launch the week of May 7th. And I look forward to sharing that with you during EP Week. We're currently in the process of finalizing our communications strategy for the launch, which will include a number of additional supporting information to go along with that. And you'll be able to view that on our Town of Grimsby social media pages, as well as across the region. In addition, as you may be aware, the Town of Grimsby is hosting a Community Safety Day event on Saturday, May 13th, which aligns with EP Week for me. So I will be in attendance with a display and information on emergency preparedness and, things that you should consider. And there will be other emergency responding agencies there as well. So I look forward to seeing you there if you can make it. In closing, emergency preparedness is everybody's responsibility. And I encourage everyone to take some time during EP Week and throughout the year to learn some more about what the hazards are in our area and how you and your family can prepare if it should happen to you. So that is all I have to share with you today, and I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Kathy, and we'll certainly be there from May 7th to 13th. Look forward to all that week. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, we just need a mover and seconder to receive. Moved by Councillor Korsanji, second by Councillor Frake. Moved by Councillor Korsanji, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved that the delegation from Kathy McGrath be received. All in favor? That's carried. All right, now we move to our consent agenda. We need a mover and seconder for the consent agenda. Moved by Councillor Korsanji, second by Councillor Frake. Moved by Councillor Korsanji, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole hereby approves the following items and various consent items be approved on the recommendation as contained therein. FIN 23-18, DCS 23-07, DCS-23-08, DCS 23-09, DCS 23-10, DCS 23-11, DPW 23-09, PA 23-13, PA 23-14, and PA 23-15. All in favor? Councillor DeFlavio?
That was close. Sorry, Your Worship, I apologize for interrupting you, and I hope nobody will make you read it again. I do want to point to the, I don't think we need to pull it, but I do want to, if we need to pull it to discuss it, it's fine. As far as the administration of finance, sorry, not the administration of finance, oh man, where'd it go? The standing committee terms of reference, is that part of the consent agenda? No, okay, I want to just make sure. So I apologize for interrupting you, Your Worship. I just didn't want it to pass and then have to bring it back up. Thank you.
All right, so I've read it, so all in favor? And that's carried. All right, now we move to Administration and Finance Report, TC 23-08, Standing Committee Terms of Reference and Procedural Bylaw. We need a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, and then we'll start discussion. Moved by Councillor Charwa, second by Councillor DeFlavio. right, questions and comments? Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you, Worship. I've already brought this up with the clerk, and it's going to be taken care of in the future, and I'm fine with this the way that it's written today. But I do want to point to the fact that we need to revise and make sure that our procedures going forward when we move back to standing committees change as far as the council is concerned. In the past, I know that because everything was dealt with through council and committee of the whole, oftentimes minutes from previous meetings would be dealt with just in passing and voted on and accepted. But because we're moving to a committee format, I think it's important that those minutes become part of the agenda. You might recall, Your Worship, when we were on council in the past, the way that we would deal with it is those minutes would be discussed at council. It's important to note, and I've made this point to our clerk as well, that standing committees make recommendations to council, and it's council that makes the approval. So a full discussion of those minutes, I think, is important to council. So I want to make sure that we aren't just approving minutes at council, that we are discussing them, and I want to make sure that those are on the agenda every time and that they have to be voted on individually, so that we're not just moving forward. And it's not to belabor things, I think it's an important part of the procedure, so that everybody has a chance to have a conversation about what happens at the subcommittee or at the standing committee level. So that was the only thing I wanted to mention, that hopefully going forward we can make that revision to kind of tighten things up.
Bonnie?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor DeFlavio. I really appreciated the feedback, and I spoke to the acting CAO, and we will be looking at the procedures more carefully and adding something about the minutes and be bringing it back to you in a fulsome way. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Vardy.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I have to disagree with Councillor DeFlavio. I think the whole point of having councillors on the standing committees and going through these minutes, it's not the purpose of the committee then to rehash everything that happened in those meetings. I mean, you know, it's our responsibility to read those minutes and only raise them if there's an issue. It's not, my understanding, it's not meant to kind of relive that whole experience at council. I mean, we'll be here all night again. So the important thing is that we get citizen input into the standing committees. If there are recommendations, we can, you know, if there is something really noteworthy that needs to be discussed. But I think the whole point of having standing committees is to do that work, so when it comes to council, we don't have to go through it all over again. And it's our responsibility to read those minutes and not raise them unless we have an issue.
Councillor DeVoley.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I know we've all been sort of kicking this around in the background as to how this will actually happen. Yes, even before the meeting, we were talking about it again, because I said one of the things that I can envision happening is that we'll have a standing committee one week. We won't even have the minutes finished from it. We'll have council, 4 days later. And, how do we deal with these sort of tight timeframes and so on, right? And so I said I could almost envision that the chair of the standing committee would bring a verbal summary to council if it happens that quickly, because the minutes of the standing committee won't have been approved by the standing committee itself until the next meeting. So you can see how the dates are going to kind of work against us. And so I think we will have to bring like a verbal summary to council when the standing committee meets that close to the council meeting. And then when the minutes are finished and approved by the committee, I can envision it coming back again. But nevertheless, I know the clerk and our acting CAO are also thinking about our comments along the way, and so I will just leave that out there and say I leave it to you to let us know when we need to speak and present things and when the minutes will be coming.
Councillor Howe.
There we go. the important thing that with the standing committee is, number one, on the standing committee, you have to do your homework. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you go into your meeting, you got to be prepared for your standing committee. Anybody, if you're not part of that standing committee, all of us have the ability to interact with that standing committee, interact with that director, if if you have questions, so that it's clear, because there's going to be things that are going to be interesting when you see the agendas. Wait a minute, no, I want to make sure that they give that the due diligence that it requires, or I've got a concern on that. So and as Councillor Vardy said, we don't want to get into this repetition or repeating everything. We just got to be prepared, do your homework, and when we come to council, the chair of that respective standing committee will be first voice, and then we can go to support them after that if it comes down to it. But we just got to let the system do its job, and it'll do the job. We just got to let it do its job.
Councillor Frick.
Wrong button, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have to be very careful here. We went to the Committee of the Whole in the last term of council. It was a disaster for a lot of reasons. But if we're going to be rehashing every single standing committee item at every single council meeting, we may as well just go back to Committee of the Whole, because that's what we're talking about here. I do agree, if there's something that really is pending, I'm sure that we can get it on the council agenda if we need it. Right now, we have to wait 2 weeks or so to get any of the Committee of the Whole items to the council meeting anyways. So it's not going to be 4 days, it's going to be 2 weeks. So it's, that's the worst case scenario, because I would assume the committees will be meeting on a regular basis. So yeah, we just have to be very careful here. Because we're trying to be more efficient and more effective. So let's not go down that rabbit hole again, because once we get down there, it's going to be a mess. We're going to be just rehashing things over and over and over, and we're trying to be more efficient. That's the whole idea of going back to the standing committees. Get more wholesome discussions at the committee level, so we can get things done faster and better and more efficiently at the council level. And so I don't agree with Councillor Flavio or Councillor Devoli in this case. So we just need to be more efficient, make sure we have things on the agendas at the committee meetings that are discussed in full detail, and before we bring them to council for any kind of, final ratification. So, sorry, I think we should just move ahead here. I think we have a pretty good plan, and we put a lot of thought into it, and Bonnie put a lot of effort into putting it together. Thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Bradzi.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I got to say, I agree with Councillors Devoli and DeFlavio. My only fear is if one particular issue were to come up on a committee that I'm not on, and I would like to have a discussion about it at council, I would be the only opportunity other than behind closed doors. So that would be my main concern. If we have the ability to bring it up at council for those issues, I'm not talking about every issue, because we don't want to rehash everything, so kind of in the middle of all these here, but yeah, just as long as we have that ability.
Bonnie.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely, you'll have that ability. It'll be through lifting an item for consideration with a motion.
Councillor DeFlavio.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I wasn't talking about rehashing. I'm talking about giving traditionally what happens, and it's not just in Grimsby, but in any place where there are standing committees, is that the chair and members of that committee make give a brief synopsis of what happened at that meeting, and that's it. It's, it's an opportunity to speak about, items that are, for example, if there was a recreation meeting and we approved a new outdoor rink schedule, just to get that information out there. It's not meant to rehash, not meant to have, most of the things that will be coming forward will be things that are just informational. The only thing that I want to make sure of is that if there are items that need to be dealt with in more detail, that we have the opportunity to discuss them without having to lift them. And that's why I want to make sure they're part of the agenda. That's it. I don't know if I made it more confusing or cleared it up with what I said.
Well, I think traditionally, the chairs of the standing committees give a high-level overview of what happened at that committee anyway, and then we have fulsome minutes, and we have the tape of the live streaming of it, so I think we should be covered for most things, so. Councillor DeVoley.
Moving on to a different topic, but related to this report, I just wanted to ask for some clarification and perhaps some study. So in Appendix A of TC 23-08, on the third page, it talks about the composition and term of our standing committees, and it says that the chair of these committees will be a member of council and will be appointed by council. But I've gone back all the way to February, and I can't find a resolution where we actually put the names together with who is the chair of the committees. And so I guess my question to our staff is, do you know where that is and where we actually passed that resolution, or is that coming yet?
Bonnie, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that will happen when the committees begin, because usually it's appointed by the committee. They have to appoint the chair.
But that's not what this says.
It'll be
appointed by council.
Well, because the motion will come to council to be appointed, yeah. So it's just the process.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions, moved by Councillor Charwa, second by Councillor DeFlavio. Resolved that report TC 23-08, Standing Committee Terms of Reference and Procedural Bylaw Amendments to report TC 23-05 be received, and that Council approve the amendments to the Standing Committee Terms of Reference and Procedural Bylaw 2065, and Council approve live streaming the Standing Committee of the Whole, and council meetings, and the town clerk make the necessary notifications to the public as it relates to the new governance structure beginning in May 2023. And if you can just vote using your e-scribes, please. All right, that is carried.
Through your worship, there was a lot of discussion about the minutes of the committee of the whole taking 2 weeks to come forward. I'm assuming that now, because if we move to a standing committee system, that if a meeting occurred 4 days earlier, that those meeting minutes would be coming to the next council meeting. So it would actually speed up that process.
That's correct. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, now we're moving to correspondence. Need a mover and seconder for the correspondence. Moved by Councillor Freg, second by Councillor Korstanji. Moved by Councillor Freg, second by Councillor Korstanji. Resolved that the following correspondence be received. Niagara West Fire and Emergency Services Emergency Preparedness Week Proclamation, Nellis Manor Museum, Museum Month Proclamation, City of St. Catharines, request for province-wide municipal accommodation tax, Regional Municipality of Niagara, 2022 Niagara Region Employment Inventory results. All in favor? That's carried. All right, the next meeting is not, as tonight is the last committee of the whole meeting, so we'll be transitioning to standing committees after this. So congratulations, everyone, for moving back to that. And this meeting is adjourned. We'll start at 5 after 7 for the council meeting. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the council meeting for Monday, April 17th, 2023. Could everyone rise for the playing of the national anthem?
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Carton bras et porter le pays, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Niagara Region and Grimsby are situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendurong, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and the town of Grimsby stand with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? And just before we get mover and seconder for approval of the agenda, I have the Emergency Preparedness Proclamation and the Museum Month Proclamation to add to the agenda. Are there any other additions? We need a mover and seconder then. Moved by Councillor Frank, second by Councillor Baradzi. Moved by Councillor Frank, second by Councillor Baradzi. Resolved that the April 17th, 2023 council meeting agenda be approved as amended. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Korstanji and second by Councillor Vardy. Whereas Emergency Preparedness Week is a national awareness initiative that has taken place annually since 1996, and whereas the goal of Emergency Preparedness Week is to raise community awareness and the need to prepare for the possibility of an emergency, and whereas the safety of our community is the responsibility of each and every one of us, we must prepare now to ensure a strong and safe tomorrow. Therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Jeff Jordan, on behalf of the Town of Grimsby Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 7th to 13th, 2023 to be Emergency Preparedness Week in the Town of Grimsby, and encourage all citizens to participate in educational activities on emergency preparedness and take action to ensure you are prepared to protect yourself and your household during an emergency. All in favor? That's carried. And our second proclamation, moved by Councillor Frank, second by Councillor Vardy. Whereas the 700-plus museums, art galleries, and heritage sites across Ontario are key assets to education, employment, economic development, tourism, culture, and equity, and whereas museums support the ability of Ontario municipalities to attract skilled workers in all sectors, including a workforce of museum professionals and volunteers, and whereas this month provides an opportunity to recognize the vital role museums play in helping to achieve recovery and rebuilding across Ontario. Museums are local tourism assets which welcome visitors in every community across the province. And whereas these museums are community hubs providing access to the benefits of culture, heritage, and local vitality, as trusted public institutions, museums are valuable resources for education and learning. And whereas May 18th, 2023 is International Museum Day, to highlight museums as key contributors to the well-being and the sustainable development of our communities, making them vibrant and vital places to live, work, visit, and invest. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Jeff Jordan, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as May is Museum Month in Grimsby, and encourage all residents and tourists to visit our local museums in May. All in favor? That's carried. All right, now we move to adoption of previous minutes. Need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Howe, second by Councillor Bradzi. Moved by Councillor Howe, second by Councillor Bradzi. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole minutes of April 3rd, 2023, Council minutes of April 3rd, 2023, Special Council minutes of April 5th, 2023, and Special Council minutes of April 12th, 2023 be approved. All in favor? That's carried. All right, now we move to report PA 2316, Council Direction Report, 292 Main Street West, 99 Main Street West, 19 Elm Street, and 13 Mountain Street. Need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Howe. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Howe. Resolved that report PA 2316, Council Direction Report, 292 Main Street West, 99 Main Street West, 19 Elm Street, and 13 Mountain Street, dated April 17th, 2023, be received, and that Council proceed with the passing of the designation bylaws for the properties at 292 Main Street West, 99 Main Street West, 19 Elm Street, and 13 Mountain Street. All in favor? That's carried. All right, now we move to bylaws. Councillor DeFlavio, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Our regional councillor, as I mentioned to you earlier, is feeling ill, and she asked me to pass on. We had asked her to inquire with the chief of police if we could get a police, the chief to come forward and to come to council. And she did forward an email to me that said, from Chief McCulloch, and it was saying that he'd be happy to come to a future council meeting, that our clerk should make a request through his office, and that the 8th District Commander, Sergeant Lemac, I think is Lemac, would be, the two of them would be happy to come to a future council meeting. So I just wanted to pass that on her behalf, because she's not able to come tonight. She sends her regrets. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor DeFlavio. Now we move to bylaws. Moved by Councillor Vardy, second by Councillor Frake. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaws 23-34 to 23-39 inclusive, and that same be read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All right, need a mover and seconder for second and third reading. Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Howe. Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, second by Councillor Howe. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaws 23-34 to 23-39 inclusive, read a first time, now be read a second and third time, and finally passed, and the mayor and town clerk do sign and seal the same, and rule council to the contrary notwithstanding. All in favor? That's carried. All right, any announcements from council? Councillor Bradzi?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Good to. First announcement, I just wanted to commend our both Grimsby and Lincoln Fire Services, as well as Pelham for the major fire at Moyer Apples on Thursday night. It was a large blaze. They were there all night, and took many hands to extinguish the fire. And the second announcement, I was pleased to attend the Niagara Association of Home Builders Awards Night on Friday to accept the Best Green Building Design Award on behalf of Ward 4's very own DeSantis Homes. It was a pleasure to be a part of the event and that design, and something that I would like to continue advocating and see many more green buildings in Grimsby.
Councillor DeVoley.
This particular item was on the agenda, but I realized we're so keen tonight, we go through it quickly, and I just wanted to remind everybody that this coming Saturday on April 22nd, we will have tree planting at the 40 Mile Creek, organized by the NPCA. And I was speaking with someone there today and asked, do we show up? How would you like this to be done? And so on. And he did say, of course, they would like to know how many people will be coming, so to contact the NPCA if you are interested. But other than that, you don't have to bring a shovel. They will have that. Bring your hat, bring a water bottle, bring closed-toed shoes, and from 10 a.m. till noon, they will put you to work planting trees down at the 40 Mile Creek, and you can park on Elizabeth Street down there. So looking for volunteers Saturday morning. Thank you.
Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you, Worship. This past weekend and next weekend, Ontario Basketball is hosting the Ontario Basketball Championships in Niagara, and West Niagara and Grimsby are some of the locations that are being used. It takes a lot of volunteers and a lot of people to make that happen. Parents volunteering to sell, stuff at a stand, people volunteering to be timers, people volunteering to be coordinators, and all of that happens in Grimsby, which brings money into the community. Those parents and families are going to restaurants to eat. They're staying at local hotels, shopping at local shops. So I want to thank all the volunteers that are involved in that, because it's a lot of work for a lot of people that are involved in that. And they're bringing hundreds of people from all over the province to the community. I think that other communities have sought to partner with these organizations, and I think our community, we have a coordinator job that we're going to be bringing forward, should start looking at partnering with volleyball and hockey and basketball and all these other organizations, because they are organizations that bring a lot of money into the community, and bringing these events into the community takes a lot of work. So it's one of those, I as much as I was frustrated by the addition of that position, I'm happy that we can, I'd be happy if we can make it work for the community and make some money for our local businesses by bringing these events to town more often than are already happening. Thanks, Your Worship. And thanks again to those volunteers.
Thank you, Councillor DeFlavio. I do have an announcement. On Wednesday, April 12th, I was happy to attend with Councillor Frake and CAO Kim the State of the Region, Chair Bradley's State of the Region address in Niagara Falls. And it was a very good event. There's so much happening in the region. 2023 is going to be an amazing year in Niagara region. We also had an award, Impact Award was given for a Grimsby company. That was Handling Specialty, who received one of the Niagara Impact Awards. So we're very proud of Handling Specialty. And it was really quite an event that is leading up to our day at Niagara Day at Queen's Park, which is happening May 15th, isn't it? Yes, May 15th. So Niagara Region will be having quite a presence at Queen's Park on May 15th. So we look forward to that. Yes, next council meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 1st at 6:30. Now we move by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Vardy, resolve that council meet in closed session under Section 2392B of the Municipal Act, where a closed meeting is held if the subject matter being considered pertains to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. All in favor to go into closed? And that's carried. We will return after the closed session. Thank you, everyone. We need a mover and seconder for the closed session direction. Moved by Counselor DeVoley, second by Counselor Sharwa. Moved by Counselor DeVoley, second by Counselor Sharwa. Resolved that the direction provided in closed session be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Need a mover and seconder for the confirming bylaw. Moved by Counselor Howe, seconded by Counselor Bradsey. Moved by Counselor Howe, second by Counselor Bradsey. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaw 2340 and that same be read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. Mover and seconder for the second and third reading. Moved by Counselor Vardy, second by Counselor Korstanji. Moved by Counselor Vardy, second by Counselor Korsanji. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaw 23-40, read a first time, now be read a second and third time, and finally passed, and the mayor and town clerk do sign and seal the same rule to the council to the contrary notwithstanding. All in favor? That's carried. Good job, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.